So this lesson will focus on other kind of brochures and different ways brochures can be folded. So let's take a look at the first one. So this is a client project I did for a seminary or a graduate school. And what you do is, this is called a gatefold. So there's so many different ways to fold a brochure. And this is just one option if you needed 4 different panels. And we went for this one because we needed that extra panel because we had a lot of information and a lot of articles we wanted to have. So we needed that extra panel. Usually there's 3. It's called a trifold, but this is a gatefold. So when you open it up, you have these kind of 2 areas, and then it folds out in the center to become basically one large document. So when you have an Illustrator file, I had one file, this was all 4 inside panels, and I had another file, or you can probably have another artboard, and have the outside. So you have an outside and an inside, and this is exactly how it looks in Adobe Illustrator. I even have this going vertical upside down. Why? Because when it's folded, and it folds like this, gatefold, so it kind of comes out, this, and it folds again, because then when I have it here, it can go in the mail, just like that. So I wanted to kind of go over these because there's always a mystery, you know, how these fold. I had to kind of learn this on my own, just Googling it and figuring out, you know, how should I put my design? How should I design it? When I open this up, a lot of times with gatefolds, what I like to do is kind of unite the middle 2 panels design-wise so that these feel like they're one unit, and then you have these wings of extra information. But you could do it however you like and whatever works best for the client. So there's a gatefold. This is another one I did. I made it kind of look like a door. Just use a little Photoshop editing to make it look like you can open the door. Opening the door to the future is kind of one of those. This is probably 8 years old, so it's a little bit older. But just wanted to use like real student photos. But this is a trifold. This is a very classic trifold. You open it up and you have 3 different items. This uses high gloss, kind of a UV gloss or semi-gloss in there. And you can close it up. That is a very, very typical trifold. You'll probably do a lot more of these than you would the gatefold. But you notice how there's just not as many panels. So this is great if you don't have a ton of information to give the viewer. And this is a trifold, but this is a little bit, this is not a gatefold, but it's a trifold, but it's bigger. You notice how it's almost double the size. It's very tall. Once again, there's so many different sizes that can fit what you need. So this is kind of the standard trifold size. This is basically an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And of course, this one is much bigger, but I'm able to put a lot more on it. That's why we chose this size. And this is basically a jumbo postcard. So this is a jumbo postcard. So it costs more to send this in the mail than it does, you know, kind of a smaller 8.5 by 11. This is a lot cheaper to mail, and this is a lot more expensive because it's got the jumbo size. But you just talk with your client to see how much mailing costs would be to make sure when you choose your design, you're thinking about costs and what the client can afford. This is another trifold that I designed, and this one's actually, I take that back, this is a quad fold. So instead of quad means 4, tri means 3, so this is just, you have so many different options. This is the standard layout, but it just folds one more time. And so in Adobe Illustrator, I had all of this laid out as the inside and all of this laid out as the outside. And not to confuse things more, this is called a Z fold. So what a Z fold does is it opens a little bit differently. So a trifold opens like this, and then you would open it. But this is a Z fold, and you can tell because it kind of, the way it opens. So notice how this one folds 1, 2, 3. This one folds differently. This kind of has like a Z formation, and it goes almost like, I guess this is more like an accordion, isn't it? It goes like this instead of flipping like this. It doesn't really matter. It's just a different way to fold it. You still have the same information. What it does do is it changes the panel you see first. So when I open up this first panel, you open it up and you see this panel, which is the very last panel. In a standard one, the first one you see is this panel, which is actually on the back. So once again, figure out what fold works for you best, and then you need to just take a piece of paper and label panel 1, panel 2, panel 3 to figure out how you need to lay out the design so the people see it in the order that you'd like them to see it in. So in another client project I created this entire package design. I had a box with a see-through window and all this really neat things for this product. And this is the little manual that kind of came with it. So this is something I did in Adobe InDesign just because it has so many different pages to it. And all this was done in Adobe InDesign and printed. And there's the back. So I just kind of wanted to show you kind of what that looks like in action. Definitely something I did in Adobe InDesign. It kind of has steps and kind of flip through it. Here's a little annual report I did several years back. You can kind of see some of the infographics. If you've taken my infographic section, you've probably seen some of these infographics here, or you see me kind of flip through that. So you'll notice there's a big difference between the sizes here. So yeah, I think this is a 6x9. So that's, of course, the United States. You would have different sizes in Europe, but this is kind of a smaller, kind of a more handy size. This fit into a box. So that's why it needed to be this size. This one is a handout. It's an annual report, so it's more of a standard page size. But you can kind of see the difference of spacing. When you can design for this, you can do so much more. You can have so much more information packed. That's why for an annual report, I thought that this size worked a lot better than this size. This is another one I did a while ago for a wine summit. Worked for the wine industry for a little bit, and so kind of had this document. And so with this one, I tried to keep a theme throughout the entire piece. And I believe this is only 20 pages, so we're able to make it kind of a thicker paper weight. And so paper weight's a big deal. This is very thick. It feels luxurious. It feels, you know, really high quality. You also have thinner paper weights, which are cheaper. This is a thinner paperweight that's very cheap. It tears very easily. I think I just accidentally tore that just picking it up. It tears very easily, but it's super cheap to produce. This is more expensive, but boy, it just feels great. It really feels like something I never want to throw away. Feels like a keeper. It's like a keeper's item. So just think about paperweight. Do you need the higher quality, thicker feeling paper that's not going to tear very easily? So this is something I did a while ago. You know, we have this real packed schedule, but I tried to divide it up by using kind of these cream divider boxes, and also use the little divider lines. This is a lot of information. I talked with the client, we could not reduce this any, so I had to fit all this in and try to make it readable. And so these are different kind of tastings that you can do, different events. I had to do custom logos for all of this. This was quite a big project. It took me about a month to complete. About 2 months if you count client communication time, where I was just kind of waiting for information on all the different events. We also took time to pick the photos to make sure they matched everything that we needed. So just wanted to kind of see how the papers turn. Such a nice high quality thing. And this is kind of a mistake I did. I wish I didn't do it. But I had this beautiful kind of, I used a blending mode for this photo to kind of see the mountains continue on. I have these little mountains back here, and it's on this branded red, but it didn't print out very good. And that's why with blending modes, sometimes you need to make sure you do it in CMYK color mode, and make sure you test it out, because it might print out a little bit differently when it's printed with a CMYK color than when you see it on the screen RGB. So just kind of something to look out. A mistake I made that I'd love for you guys not to make. Another exciting thing is doing these kind of booklets. This is a map. So I don't know if you guys will get a chance to do a map, but I wanted to show you how kind of this worked. So this is the front cover. We took a long time to figure out what photo to use. We wanted to have a nice high contrast headline, very simple and clean. And so this is how it works. So you flip it open, and this is an accordion. So it folds out like an accordion. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see all this. It's massive. It took, gosh, 4 months to do all this. Fortunately, I worked with a cartographer who did the map. So I just had to do everything else. But I had to figure out, so this was a map, and there's a lot of white used in the background. So I wanted to use this branded blue all the way down the column to kind of break it up and use some nice kind of photography. And same thing with here, trying to make it fun. I think I have a more updated version to this, which I don't have. And then the updated version for the next year. I did this for several years. Sorry for the noise. But I had photos and little snapshot pictures, almost look like little Instagram things. I don't have that map with me, but just kind of showing you when I had, I think this was Adobe InDesign. I did this in Adobe InDesign, but yes, it was took quite a bit of time to put all this together. And yes, it was a very large document. And I had to figure out, I had to put in InDesign little guides so I can know where it folded. Because if I didn't know where I folded, I might have a fold right in a very important piece of text that I didn't want to be folded. So I had to be very careful and put little guides so I know kind of where it folded. And so I can fold that up. And there's the back side. I did all of the back side. And so all of the back side, all of that had to be worked out. This took months. But it's a high-paying project. So these are the type of things where, okay, yeah, you're booked for a couple months, but you're getting, you know, a lot of hours of work in. And so once again, this is one of those upside-down things. So this is how it's designed. And I had to send it to the printer pretty much. This is one big sheet that they printed on. And I had to know exactly where things folded so that it did this. It's printed upside down, and then it folds. And you have the front, and then you have the testimonials on the back. So just kind of showing you practically kind of how I work through that project.